Qualified, professional, and compassionate doctors talking real solutions to real health problems.
Every 1st of December, the world commemorates World AIDS Day. In this special day, we remember the efforts of those who have led the fight against HIV. We remember those who lost their lives to the disease, as well as reflecting on the achievements in fighting HIV and what the future holds in achieving zero transmission levels and zero HIV infection rates in the future. With me are a team of HIV experts. We have Dr. Fiona Creswell, a consultant in infectious diseases and HIV. You're most welcome to the show, Dr. Fiona.
Thank you.
We have Dr. John Casivante, who also works with Infectious Disease Institute, and he attends to patients living with HIV. You're most welcome to the show, Dr. John. And finally, Mr. Justus Tugume, who is a living survivor of HIV, and he's kind enough to come on television to share his story about HIV. So thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Justus.
Thank you so much.
So we want to start with getting an understanding from a patient's perspective, from someone who is living positively with HIV, what it's like, how has the disease impacted on their lives, and what advice can they give to fellow people living with HIV. So Justus, we'll start with you. I want to thank you so much again for coming on the show. It's not an easy thing to tell someone's personal story. So I really appreciate you coming on television to tell the world, to tell Ugandans about what it is to live with HIV. So I want to hear from you. How has it been like?
Some years back in 2014, I had a terrible headache of which I didn't know about myself. Then I was admitted in these local clinics, of which it never helped me at all. Then from there, when I went in a critical condition, I was taken to Mulago, whereby the doctors realized that I have what they call meningitis. But after that, they had to first test me. And then after I've been tested, they found when I'm with even HIV. Then I had to be put on treatment of meningitis first. It wasn't easy time for me. It was a terrible, terrible situation in my life. But I thank God that I really survived and I'm still living.
So were you in a coma at this time when you had the meningitis?
Yeah, really, I was in a coma because they took me to Mulago when I could not even know what is taking place. After being taken there, doctors looked after me. I was put on treatment for meningitis. Had to be put in clinical trial. They did a lot about myself. I got treatment until I recovered and started getting better.
Dr. Fiona, from listening to Justus, he said that he came in, he was in a critical condition, he had meningitis. What causes this meningitis? Is it the HIV itself?
So when people have had HIV for a number of years, their immune system becomes very weak and they become susceptible to infection. And one of the common infections that people get with advanced HIV disease or with AIDS is cryptococcal meningitis. That's a type of fungal infection which, although it's in the environment all the time, when the immune system is weak, the fungus can get into the blood and then into the brain and it causes a severe headache, and people come in very sick and in a coma. So that was what happened in Justice's case.
Okay, and he received some treatments. What kind of treatments did he receive? Because he was in a coma, he may not remember what was happening.
Yeah. So the way that we diagnose meningitis is by doing a lumbar puncture. That's when we take a small sample of water from the back, and that's a very safe procedure, which we do very commonly, and it saves people's lives when they have meningitis. And it allows us to tell if this is a fungal infection or if it is caused by TB or by another kind of condition. Now, in Justice's case, it was caused by a fungal infection, Cryptococcus, and so he was treated with a medicine called amphotericin. That's a very strong medicine which kills the fungal infection, and thereafter people can start antiretroviral therapy, so the immune system can become strong again.
So it is a must that if someone has this infection, they must start on ARVs.
Yes, so after treating the fungal infection, people begin ARVs about 6 to 8 weeks later. So by the time the fungus has been cleared from the body, then they're safe to start on the ARVs. And the hope is that then by being on the ARVs lifelong, the immune system becomes strong and they are never at risk of getting the fungal infection again.
Dr. Kasavante, in your experience, how many people get this infection, that fungal infection, the Cryptococcus, and how many survive it?
In a week, we can see around 4 to 5 patients who are having cryptococcal meningitis. And because of the marked improvement in the care we give these patients, few actually succumb to death. In a month, we may have 2 or 3 succumbing to death because of the care that has greatly improved. And the main cause of death for much of the patients that we lose is due to how advanced the illness is by the time they are admitted into the hospital. The most important part in diagnosis and treatment of patients with meningitis is being able to take off water, or what we call medically doing the lumbar puncture. When patients
remove the water from the back.
Yes, when patients removed water from the back, they get relief because much of the headache they're having is due to increased fluid in the brain. The brain that surrounds the fluid is too much. So when we do a lumbar puncture, we are able to take off some and they get so much relief.
Just, yes. Is that true that when they removed water from the back, were you feeling better?
Yeah, truly. In the situation I went in there, doctors came to me, of which even my relatives could not believe that it could happen. At times they could say, we've never had someone surviving after they take water after the back, remove the water from the back. But in the condition I was in, I said, please let the doctors do whatever they can do to see that I can survive. And indeed, that's what the doctor did. I really got relieved from the headache. Slowly by slowly, it took some time. It wasn't once time to remove the water from the back, but with time, after many times, like 5 times, they used to do it once in a day. 5 times, I got released from the bad headache I had.
Dr. Fiona, why is it that they have to remove this water to relieve the headache? I thought you just take like Panadol, diclofenac injection, the headache goes.
So that's one of the challenges, that people often they have headache for many weeks before they come to hospital, and they can be treating themselves with Panadol and painkillers and antimalarials, yet actually what they need to do is to come to the hospital early before they get to the stage of coma. And then we can take the water from the back. What happens when there's meningitis is that the brain continues to produce water, but it can't absorb the water. So there's an excess of fluid around the brain, and this causes a pressure feeling in the head. So by taking the sample from the back, it can reduce the pressure and the headache can go away. So I think the important message is that if you have a headache for more than 2 or 3 days, you should be thinking that, could this be something like meningitis? And you should be seeking, medical care rather than taking painkillers and other things.
So, Mr. Justice, you've been on treatment for quite some time. Yes. How has it been on this treatment? Does it bring side effects? How did you handle the side effects?
After the treatment of meningitis, after some time being on clinical trial, I had to go again on the treatment of HIV. They first had to put me on the first line, and the first line failed. Then when I went back, they said, Justice, we to put you on the second line. But I didn't get any harm or anything that on my side, that any side effect on my side. I've never had any effects on my side. So
it is possible someone can live on this medicine without side effects?
Yeah, probably. Although some people, they get some issue with it, but on my side, I've never had any problem with it.
Okay, so we'll come back shortly after the break to explore more about the treatments that are used in caring for HIV patients. If you have any questions or comments, please forward them to our social media platforms. Remember, we are discussing HIV, the success stories against HIV, and what the future holds in the fight against HIV. Don't go back. We'll be right back after the break.
You are watching the Doctalk Show.